You know, I always thought I was a cold-hearted bitch, but it's nice to know that I still have a little bit of humanity left in me. Hello, beautiful people. It's me, your local diva, back with another video. I know it's been a long time, but I was busy with life. I finally completed my master's degree, so I'm really relieved and relaxed right now. But yeah, I had my exams and stuff, but anyway, let's move on. So after almost 22 years of existence, I think I finally found the book. In all these years of my reading experience, I have never ever cried over a book. Now, in case you've watched my previous video, you would know that I read A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, and that is probably one of the most depressing books in modern literature. And I did not cry while reading that. And out of nowhere, I come across this Chinese web novel that shockingly made me cry for the first time ever twice. I read this web novel twice, once last year and once again while I was preparing for this video, and it managed to make me cry both times. So the name of this web novel is 10 Years That I Loved You the Most, also known as The Decade of Deep Love, and it is written by a Chinese author called Wu Yi Ningxi. In brief, the novel is about this man called Zishuhei who is suffering from leukemia, and his partner of 14 years is cheating on him. Yep. Now, if you are planning to read this, I have to put out a trigger warning because this story has depictions of sexual, mental, and physical abuse. So if you cannot handle that, then I do not recommend this to you. Now, in recent years, I've noticed this trend of the main character having, some kind of terminal illness in both books and films. And honestly, I find this very overrated. But this story manages to execute this trope really well, and it does not feel superficial or contrived. I also have to add that this is a very character-driven story, as it focuses more on the characters rather than the action. Every single character in the story is a tragic figure, and it is the thoughts and emotions of these characters which really form the essence of the story. Like, sure, cancer is depressing, I think we can all agree on that, but it is the characters and their relationships and their interactions and their thoughts which really bring out the tragic in the story. If you are a literature student like me, you will be familiar with the term pathos, which basically means an artistic quality that evokes a feeling of pity or sympathy. I feel like this story is the epitome of pathos. And the writer creates this atmosphere of pathos using various literary devices such as imagery, symbolism, metaphor, and flashbacks. For instance, I really liked the way the writer used the images of, dumplings, wontons, and jasmine as these really meaningful symbols that add a lot of depth to the story. One of the most significant aspects of the story that really makes it interesting is the antagonist of the story, which is the cheating boyfriend. Like, don't get me wrong, he is a terrible person who does unspeakable things that can never be forgiven. But we are also given an insight into his point of view, and we get to see his thoughts and his thought process and everything, which really gives him layers. Like, he is not just some dumb evil character who is one-dimensional, He is a flawed individual like the rest of us, with his own perspective, his own guilt and feelings and emotions. So this really makes the readers feel conflicted towards him, at the end of the novel. Like, on one hand, you really hate him, but you also pity him. So I feel like the writer did a really good job in creating and fleshing out this character. In his own way, this villain is a tragic hero. Now, analyzing this from a literary point of view, one of the main elements that makes the story so tragic is the presence of conflict. Now, in literature, one of the main components of tragedy is conflict, which could be internal or external. According to German writer Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, everything tragic rests on irresolvable opposition. As soon as resolution enters or becomes possible, the tragic vanishes. Now, in this story, there are a lot of conflicts, especially between the main character and his boyfriend, but also within themselves as well. These conflicts are never resolved. So, by applying Goethe's theory, it is this irresolvable nature of conflict that really makes it so tragic. Had the conflicts been resolved, the story would not seem that sad. This story also deals with themes of infidelity, love, guilt, and redemption, so I feel like everybody relates to it in some way, which makes the story kind of universal. Now, coming to the technical aspects, this story is originally written in Chinese, and the one I read was a translated version. You can find these sort of unofficial translations in English online, so I don't know if I should really be judging the writing skill of the translation, but I will say that the writing style is very simple, very straightforward. It's not flowery or poetic in any way. It is actually kind of amateurish, and there were also a few grammatical errors. There are like 80 chapters or something, but they are very short. Like each chapter consists of only a few paragraphs, so I think you will be able to finish the story in an hour or in a few hours. This is not a literary masterpiece in any way. I think many people might even be put off by the writing style, but despite its simplicity, the story manages to get under your skin and touch your heart. I was really and pleasantly surprised by how affected I was. I would also like to add that you have to read the story in its entirety. Like, the story has an official end, and then there are like 3 or 4 extra chapters which acts as an epilogue, and I highly suggest you read those epilogues as well, because it was these final chapters that broke me. Most of the online testimonials share similar feelings as mine. Majority of them cried. Some of them left the story in the middle because they could not continue as it was way too sensitive for them. But if you think you are strong enough, or if you are looking for a good cry, I highly suggest you read this story. There is also a manhwa version, and that is also available in English translation. So if you are into that, you can read that instead of the novel. So these were my thoughts on this Chinese web novel called 10 Years That I Loved You the Most, aka The Decade of Deep Love. I hope you liked this video. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you have read this novel. Make sure to comment how you feel about it, whether you liked it or not, and most importantly, whether you cried or not. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay beautiful, and I will see you next time. Bye.